Welcome into Rockets today. This is our inaugural show, the very first episode of our Rockets channel here at Chat Sports. Thank you all for tuning in. And if you're watching this on the day that I'm dropping it, we will be having our first ever watch party. Rockets versus Knicks tonight. Hope to see y'all there. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe as well. We got a great show on tap for you for our very first episode. What is the biggest concern for your Houston Rockets heading into the NBA playoffs? And speaking of playoffs, who could the Rockets be facing in round one? And at the end of today's program, we're going to discuss, should Rockets fans have hope going into this playoffs, or are they doomed heading in to the playoffs? I'll tell you about that at the end of today's program. Before we get going, though, help me grow this channel. I want to be the fastest show in Chat Sports history to get to 1,000 subscribers. A lot of y'all have already hit that sub button. I tweeted it out at Jeremy Chuggs on X, and a lot of y'all already hit that sub button. We're already up to 81 subs. The Chat Sports record for 1,000 subscribers is 48 hours. So 2 days from now, I want to try to hit 1K. Help me out. Go down and hit that sub button for free Rockets content all year long. We're getting right into our first story here on Rockets today. What is the biggest concern around this team before they get into playoff action? I think if you've been watching any of the games this year for the Rockets, you will know it is the point guard spot, and more specific, ball handling at the end of games, late game scenarios, close games. Who is the playmaker? Who's the guy with the ball in his hand? And that's been a problem for your Houston Rockets all season long. Now, we know Amen Thompson, he's kind of this, not going to say point forward, but bigger, point guard / wing 3-and-D guy. He can handle the rock, but in late game scenarios, it's been tough because teams kind of sag off him a little bit. They're not scared of Amen Thompson on his pull-up jump shot, especially from three-point range. He's somebody who is a great playmaker whenever he's full steam ahead going towards the basket, but late game scenarios when he can't get to the rim, been a little bit of an issue for this squad. And then you think, okay, well, we have Kevin Durant, one of the best guys to do it all time in the NBA. But you saw in that Lakers series or Lakers couple games a couple weeks ago, he's just been getting doubled late. As soon as he crosses half court, teams have been forcing him to get the ball out of his hands, and that's spelled trouble for this Rockets squad whenever number 7 isn't able to, do his thing at the end of games, and teams are kind of forcing him out of the Rockets game plan in the fourth quarter. And that all leads to Reed Sheppard, the second-year man out of Kentucky. The starting point guard, maybe he's 12-4 in games that he started at the point guard spot for your Houston Rockets this year. In his 16 games of action, he's put up some pretty good numbers, but, at 6'2", 180 pounds, I'm not saying he's a bad defender, but, just law of physics, when he gets, changes off on a bigger player, bigger guard, wing, late in-game scenarios, kind of gets bullied from time to time. But he's put up pretty good stats in his 16 starts, 15.1 points per game, 5.3 assists per game, 40.5 field goal percentage, a three-point percentage of 35.6, and that steal-to-turnover ratio 2.3 to 2 on a per-game basis. So I'm going to ask you folks at home, do you think Reed Sheppard can be the Rockets point guard moving forward? He can be the guy who the Rockets look to late in games to handle the rock. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. This one's a tough one for me. I know there was a recent article by Sports Illustrated talking about how Fred VanVleet, who's been out this entire season, he's been kind of helping Reed Sheppard along, and hopefully one day he can turn into that guy, but I just don't know if he's consistent enough for the Rockets right now to be that second option in late game scenarios. Now, let's turn over to the current NBA standings in the Western Conference and look at where the teams stack up. You see the Rockets right there slated as the 6th seed with 8 games left on their schedule. Oklahoma City, San Antonio Spurs, those two teams are kind of, ahead of the pack. They don't really have to worry about much, maybe a little bit of jockeying for position on that 1 and 2 seeds, but they're basically locked to be those top 2 seeds in the Western Conference. But I'm looking at 3 through 6 right now, and the most likely playoff opponents for your Houston Rockets. First off, it's the Los Angeles Lakers. If the season ended right now, that's who the Rockets would be facing in round one. This season, they are 1-2 up against the Lakers. They played 2 games within a 3-4 day stretch a couple weeks ago. They lost both those games. Luka Doncic absolutely went off on this Rockets squad. But prior to that, the Rockets won their first matchup up against the Lakers. The other opponent that they could possibly be going up against, the Denver Nuggets. The Rockets are 1-3 up against the Nuggets. They did have a tough overtime loss to them, and obviously Nikola Jokic, he plays a big factor whenever these two teams play. That would be another possible playoff opponent. And the last one, the Minnesota Timberwolves, who the Rockets play one more time this season, and the last time they played, it was, I'm just going to say, it was embarrassing. The Rockets had a 13-point lead in overtime, and without Anthony Edwards, without a lot of their key guys, the Rockets blew that lead in overtime and let the Timberwolves escape with the victory. It was not pretty. But, these are the 3 teams that we're looking at as Rockets fans as possible first-round opponents. And I don't even want to think about the possibility of a late-season collapse, because I do know the Rockets, they are 3.5 games ahead of the 7th seed right now, the Phoenix Suns, and the vaunted play-in games with 8 games to go in their season. It would be an absolute meltdown mode if they lost their position and had to play in the play-in game. I don't see a world where that happens. I hope there's not a world where that happens, where the Rockets somehow slide down to that 7th seed. But that would be worst-case scenario, because, one, you have to go through the play-in game, and then you would have to face either the Thunder or the Spurs in the first round. Not a pretty sight for your Houston Rockets. Now, if you had to predict it right now, who do you think the Rockets will play in the playoffs? I'm still going with the Los Angeles Lakers. I think where everybody stands right now, probably a good spot to where everybody will be at the end of the season. But let me know what you think. Who do you think the Rockets will play in the playoffs this year? Lastly, on today's show, should Rockets fans be worried heading into the playoffs? And I'm not saying the Rockets are going to make a Western Conference Finals, but I do think a lot of people are counting out the Rockets before the playoffs have even begun. With this team, first half of the season, I know, second half after the All-Star break, it hasn't been as pretty, but for many points in this year, the Rockets, they were at that 3 seed, at that 4 seed in the Western Conference. So to act like they're a bad team at this point in the year, I get they've had some struggles, some bumps down the road, but they're still a good team when it's all said and done. And the reasons why I have hope, I have 3 of them. 33-19 record against teams with a plus 500 record this year. Winning teams, the Rockets have won 33 and lost 19 of those games. So obviously up against good teams, it's not like they have absolutely shit the bed. Actually, when you look at it, they've actually lost some of those games on this back half of the year to not as good teams, right? They've lost to some lesser opponents, had some off nights, and that has really kind of affected the Rockets' positioning in the Western Conference. The second reason why I have hope, 2 of those losses that have come in the past month, they've been in overtime. And, it's tough because if you look at those 2 games, and I actually have a weigh-in too for those two games. If you look at them, like, if they win both these games, the outlook for this team, and I know it's just 2 games out of an 82-game season, they win these 2 games in overtime, I think a lot of people are looking at this Rockets team a lot differently. Obviously, that embarrassing loss that I mentioned to the T-Wolves just a week ago. And then earlier in the month, they lost to the Warriors 115-113 in overtime as well. If they win both these games, I think people are looking at this Rockets team a little differently, and they'd probably be in that, probably like 4 seed right now instead of being the 6 seed that they're at currently. And lastly, why I have some hope for this Rockets team, they have star power. They have guys who could put the ball in the basket. And they have some guys who, when the lights are the brightest, Kevin Durant, I think he, like I said earlier, is still one of the best players to ever don the basketball court, ever to play in the National Basketball Association. And you have a rising star in Alperen Sengun. This season, I think they've both played pretty well. I know a lot of people question Sengun's defense from time to time, but, he's had some big blocks in big-time games for this Rockets squad. Both averaging over 20 points per game. Sengun almost to that 10 rebound per game mark. He's at 9 right now, 6 assists. Pretty good numbers there from the big man. Both shooting 51% from the field, and then 30% for Sengun, 40% for Durant from three-point range. I think both these guys, if they're playing to their highest ability, they can beat the Lakers. They can beat the Nuggets. They can beat the Timberwolves. So I have hope for this Rockets team to at least win a series in this playoff run. Hopefully they win two and prove everybody wrong, make the Western Conference Finals. All right, that's all I have for you on today's show, folks. Reminder, if you made it to the end of today's show, drop those H's down in the comment section. I appreciate y'all so much. Make sure to hit that sub button. I'm trying to get to 1,000 in our first 48 hours, a Chat Sports record. And quick reminder, I'll be live later on today, Rockets versus Knicks. Hope to see y'all there for our very first watch party.